Three, two, one. Here we are.
Welcome back to Two Friends Who Love Horror. Today we have a interesting idea. It's sort of my thought baby that I put out into this channel. So what I formulated upon further inspection is we're going to try to build our own movies today. Now this is no easy task, at least to make something that actually sounds believable or even interesting enough to want to listen to. But I think that we just about nailed it. So we both have made our own movies beforehand, and the way that we're breaking this down is into four major categories that build your movie. So to start, you have number one. Number one is the opening to the movie. So every good horror movie has an opening where you're gonna have the setting sort of being set up. It's showing you like the scenery and the world that you're becoming engrossed in. It's showing maybe even like the killer right off the bat. It might show a kill. It might show a possession beforehand that had happened, and now it's like some years later where a possession's happening. All of those little things that make up what an opening to a movie would be for horror stuff. Next, we have number two, which is the build-up. Now, the build-up is the most important part, is what shows why the killer is doing what they're doing, or it shows like the important steps to how something like this demonic possession could happen. That could be something like a movie that we watched recently, Late Night with the Devil. Its build-up per se would be him getting into these occult things and wanting to start using those to garner views or garner more network ratings or whatever. Something like that's the build up. That explains what's about to further the plot, and then the plot actually happens. So the plot is number three. We call this the meat. The meat is where you get to the point of the movie. So the meat would be Michael Myers killing Laurie Strode. Like he wants to kill Laurie Strode, and anybody who's in his way, he kills so he can get to Laurie Strode. Finally, you have number four, which is the ending. So the ending, the ultimate result of what happens during the duration of the movie, and that's just about it. Like whatever your story mainly consists of, it's a culmination of that coming to a close. So Michael Myers dying, and then the plot twist is always he's still alive. I think I'm gonna let you start off with your movie.
No, I
Um,
honestly think you should go first because
you want me to go first?
mine's pretty long. Me and him took two different approaches, which he did his first, and I looked at his, and I went in way too much. I didn't mess up, but I just tried too hard, and I ended up actually like writing a story based upon the things that happen in four different movies. So we have four different movies that we chose for four different parts of this. So, and I think I would just go ahead and start with you because if you want me to go first, I will, but mine's going to take way longer. So, my movie, I ended up taking the paranormal approach, and I have four different paranormal movies that I culminated into one thing. I chose Sinister, just mainly because Sinister was one of the movies I really got scared of Sinister. It scared the shit out of me, and I saw it when I was way younger. And the opening was so unsettling because it started off with basically kids unaliving their families. It was just home videotapes, pretty much. And it really set the tone for the rest of the movie. So that's my opening. That's short and sweet. And this is kind of where I get into how I ended up writing basically a short, tiny mini script. So my build up, I chose The Conjuring 1, just because it kind of explains Ed and Lorraine Warren, and I really wanted to try to include them in this. And during The Conjuring 1, it kind of, it shows what the family's really going through. Pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, I think the mother goes to either a class that Ed or Lorraine, or maybe both, are teaching. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. So they kind of get introduced there, and that's actually in The Conjuring 1. My take on it, my build up is they introduce the family and the strange experiences they've been having with their kids acting weird, and kind of exploring the idea that maybe they're trying to kill them. So we have, during the night, maybe it's 4:30 in the morning, and the parents wake up and the kid is just standing right there with a weapon. It could either be a hammer or a knife or whatever. And back in the day, the Warrens were on TV doing night show talks, night show interviews. Just because around that time the Amityville house was kind of big. There were some other things that were kind of big, and the Warrens they weren't all over it, but they made a couple appearances. So the family then sees the Warrens on TV doing appearances. In attempt to give them a call, as the Catholic Church wants nothing to do with the situation. So the Warrens do their initial interview, and immediately after the interview, Lorraine sees one of the kids standing off alone, talking to what seems to be herself. But as Lorraine looks above the child, she sees Mr. Boogie standing behind the child with his hands on her shoulders. And now we have the meat. And the meat, the kind of climax I decided to go with was Deadstream. Yeah, for people who don't know, Deadstream it's a really good movie. It's a really fun movie. It's got a low budget, I think. I believe it's a Shudder exclusive as well. And Deadstream does a really good job at just taking a movie and having fun. If you haven't seen it, I'd definitely check it out. So, in Deadstream, pretty much, it's kind of a found footage type deal. It's a guy who has a YouTube channel, and he's trying to do stuff reviews. He finds his haunted house and just goes into the haunted house and starts streaming it. I chose Deadstream just because I always wondered what it would be like to have people as serious as Ed and Lorraine Warren be kind of in this found footage type deal where they have, like, if Ed and Lorraine Warren were still alive today, still doing the stuff they did back then, more enjoyable to watch than somebody like Zach Baggins doing Ghost Adventures. How serious they took it without any of the stupid over the top stuff. It was very curious to me, and so I kind of wanted to write a story that basically captured that. So, um, in Deadstream, yeah, I mean it's the guy just has a ton of equipment. It's literally Ghost Adventures, but actually fun and enjoyable to watch, and it's a fiction movie. So, but my meat
Love watching
is
Ghost Adventures.
yeah, Ghost Adventures is good. I just think it's a little comical most of the time.
Did you see this shit right now? Did you see that?
Yeah. Um. So Lorraine has a vision, a very vivid vision of Mr. Boogie's background. And that's one thing too that Sinister never really explored either, was where he came from, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. But she has a very vivid vision of Mr. Boogie's background and how many kids he has taken. And this is me making it up. She's seen he's been around for hundreds of years and has taken over thousands of kids, but never saw how. She saw over the years how powerful his influence over the kids became, as recently he's been able to motivate them to kill their entire family. She also saw some kids who refused and were banished to what seemed to be Mr. Boogie's punishment of purgatory. In this vision she has, it kind of goes into this thing where it's not a vision anymore. It's real. She's looking at it in real time, and the kids that are in purgatory tell her that Mr. Boogie does not like Ed and will make sure Ed pays for the destruction because, they do their initial visit, their initial interview. Lorraine tells Ed this, and he decides it's best for only the team and him to be in the house alone for the night, as they're going to figure out more, and that Lorraine needs to take the family either to a hotel, somewhere that's not the house. Okay, Lorraine obviously disagrees with this, and a massive argument takes place. If you've seen the Conjuring movies, they didn't really agree all the time because Ed was trying to be the hero, and Lorraine saw that he most of the time would die. Lorraine obviously disagrees, like I said. Ed eventually wins, and the team starts setting up. So they put cameras in each of the bedrooms. Let's say that the family has 3 kids. So it's a 4-bed, 2-bath house. Okay. It's 2 stories, right? The living room being the main room in the center of the house, and you have the kitchen, and all the upstairs are just bedrooms and bathrooms, right? So the family is gone, and they're setting up their cameras, and one of the teams gives Ed a POV camera. So for the viewers, kind of imagine what's next in this story from the actual perspective of Ed Warren wearing the POV camera. Okay, so they give him the camera. It doesn't take long for activity to start taking place as they hear kids laughing, whispers of "he's on his way, are you ready?" and even seeing glimpses of kids skipping and running through the house. The cameras start to shut off one by one in each room. As Ed is trying to follow the kids' footsteps, he stops in the hallway, his breath starting to be seen like he's in a freezer. As he breathes, he sees his breath expanding but not passing over something that's in front of him. So his breath is stopping on something. He feels something touch his shoulder and breathe on his neck. A child voice says, "Take a seat. The show is about to start." Immediately after that, he hears a crew member screaming at the top of their lungs. "Something is grabbing me. Ed, I need you to come in here. I need you to see this." Ed starts to sprint towards the stairs. As he approaches the bottom, the crew member screams, "Ed, hurry, the cameras are all off. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Something is in here." As Ed starts to run up the stairs, he stops halfway when he hears the crew member scream for what seems to be a millisecond and then a loud thud immediately after. So imagine somebody screaming and it immediately being cut off. "John, John, talk to me," Ed screams as he finishes sprinting up the stairs to the bedroom. When he approaches, John is gone, just disappeared. The room seems to be perfect, no camera equipment out of place, the bed perfectly made, no furniture moved. As Ed is in shock with John missing, his mind completely goes to the other crew members in the house, and without hesitation, he starts running through the house to check on everyone else. As he approaches every room the crew members are in, he hears the same thing that happened to John. A loud, short scream interrupted by a loud thud, and no evidence of malevolence in each room. The silence is broken by a loud choir of children laughing all around the house. He tries running into the living room but is blocked by an invisible figure blocking the entranceway while he's in the kitchen. Then we immediately cut back to the family that Lorraine is watching, and Lorraine feels overwhelmingly uneasy and starts to bend over in pain. Her head is pounding and her legs are stiff. She screams, "Ed, John, Shane, no, no, please." And she's stuck. Something is literally making her not be able to move. But she manages to fight through the powerful spell over her body and sprints to the car. While driving back to the house, which she left the family alone, images of each dead crew member start flashing through her head, and as she arrives back at the house, she barges her way in through the front door. Now, my ending, I chose the taking of Deborah Logan. The shot was insane at the end of the movie where the grandmother is basically sucking on the other girl's head, like the top of her body, and she's basically eating her. So, when Lorraine enters the house, she falls to her knees, screaming in pain, reacting to what is happening in front of her. Each crew member is delicately placed with arms crossing their chest, laid on the floor, creating a circle with their feet. She looks up, and silent children surrounding the back of the living room, and they're all crowded on the staircase. They each look at Lorraine in unison. Lorraine screams at the ceiling, bending in pain again as she sees Mr. Boogie, mouth gaped and massive, moving closer to Ed's limp body while both are in the center of the circle made by the crew members' dead bodies. Ed awakes, but it's too late as Mr. Boogie grips his jaw over Ed's head as we hear the same interrupted scream we heard from the crew members in complete silence after that. And that's when it cuts.
I really liked that. That was honestly, I mean, that's definitely a very different take as opposed to like what I did. So I was thinking about possibly going that route, but I didn't want to like overcomplicate stuff as a standard for everybody. But it was
Yeah.
definitely a very entertaining story. Like it was very, it combined attributes and methodologies from all four of the movies into basically one.
Yeah, I had to stop because I was literally, if I wouldn't have stopped, I would have gone all day. Just because it's such a good idea to me. I might actually end up writing a story based on this, but probably not going to include Ed and Lorraine Warren as like they're just too big or whatever, and I don't want it to seem cheesy. But when I was writing this, I remembered that they didn't really go into Mr. Boogie's background, and if they did, I don't remember. But I really wanted to explore basically his origin and kind of do a different take. And it's just something about the taking of Deborah Logan at the end of that, and even Smile One, and It as well, the new It, where just something about mouths being so malformed and opening up so big and trying to eat somebody the way that they do it now. It's jarring in a good way to me. I kind of wanted to end it like that just to put that in there. So yeah, I might go back and write a story explaining his origin and then doing something kind of like this, but going into much more detail. So
Mine's gonna be kind of shorter, and mine kind of goes a little bit more for a combining of movies sort of thing, like just combining the pieces. So for my opening, I went with Halloween. I think it's 2000. It's either 2007 or 2008.
it's 2007.
2007.
Yeah.
It's the Rob Zombie movie. So I hate both of the Rob Zombie movies with a passion.
Oh,
I think he's.
I'm gonna stop you real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt, but he also hated both of the movies with a passion as well. I don't.
Like,
I don't.
think he's genuinely just one of the worst. Like,
Well, so for Rob Zombie, I watched an interview the other day. He had a horrible fucking time making Halloween. He wanted to do it. Like, he seriously wanted to do it, but I think it was one of the producers or somebody that was behind the scenes was like, "This movie fucking sucks, and you need to re-edit it." And he hired the studio hired an editor, and Rob Zombie just let the editor make coffee and just hang out and paid him the big bucks while he kept his editor and still edited the movie. So, but he had a fucking horrible time making both films. And for Halloween 2, that when he did that, the only reason he did that, because he went into a 3-picture deal and with the studio, and the only reason he did Halloween 2 was so that way he could get out of making a third picture.
wow.
Yeah. And it was very distasteful to me though, because he went around saying that John Carpenter was being an asshole to him and saying that, I'm not going to help you on your movie. I can't remember what he said in particular, but John Carpenter later, when he was doing an interview, I think at a university, said, "I didn't do any of that stuff. I didn't say anything like that to that guy. I said, it's your movie now. Have fun with it."
And God, Alzheimer's has hit me. What you asked me about Rob Zombie's movie. Well, I would say nice things about him, but we did this. I thought it was going to be a real cool deal for the History Channel, Biography Channel, whatever that is. They were going to do about Halloween. I thought, ooh, that's pretty cool. Until I noticed that they did one on Caddyshack. And I thought, wow, what is this? Anyway, they interviewed him on that biography and channel, and he lied about me. He said I was very cold to him when he told me I was going to, and that he was going to make it. Nothing could be further from the truth. I said, make it your own movie, man. This is yours now. Don't worry about me. I was incredibly supportive. Why that piece of shit lied, I don't know. He had no reason to. Why did he do it? So,
But anyway, yes. As much as we hate Halloween, the remakes, as far as Rob Zombie, he hates it just as equally. So
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, like out of the two movies, the only two particular pieces of them that I can think of that I enjoy is the beginning of the first one, and I guess it's really more so the ending of the second one, where you have like the field and the barn and the lightning shit going on.
I
I just
hated this.
enjoyed.
I
I just
hated it.
enjoyed that.
I
I don't
hated
know
it
what it
so
was. It
much
was really cool.
because
Um,
you hear Michael Myers talk at the end of Halloween 2, and it just kind of took away from everything. But
oh yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
yeah.
They did that so much because like even when he's a kid, like the whole aspect of him being a kid, but at the same time I really enjoy that opening. Not for Michael Myers, not for
Yeah,
Halloween,
it's
but I
gritty.
enjoy the opening style.
Yeah, it's gritty.
I like the idea of like he kills the whole family, takes out his whole family, no guts, no prisoners, no like nothing. And then afterwards,
Well, he left the
well
baby.
he
He
left the mom.
well he left the baby and he left the mom.
Yeah, but then afterwards he's trying to be all cooperative in the mental facility and everything. And then his mom ends up like killing herself. And then afterwards he just becomes like completely nonverbal and disassociates from everything for about 15 years. Then all of a sudden, right when he's an adult, he decides to do a bunch of unalives and then breaks out of the facility. And that's where I lead into my build up. So my build up, I took inspiration from a really bad film that I honestly couldn't even fully make it through recently, called Hangman. This is the 2024 version. It's not the 2015 version. That one
You
honestly
hated
looks kind of
it.
decent.
You hated it so much that you had to include it in this.
Yeah. Uh, well, I wanted to choose it for the build up because I really like the main character. So as opposed to like how I wanted it to essentially be the opening of Michael Myers. I want the actual character to kind of be more so Hangman because I really like the supporting cast around him. As far as like the world goes, you've got like these crackheads and these crazed drug dealers, and they do like trafficking and stuff, and they're all just like so oblivious to him. Yet they're still, losing people around them to him. I think his idea is kind of interesting how he has like a rope and he'll like yank people by their feet and drag them and then he'll hang them somewhere. But then for the meat of my movie, I'm going with The Retreat. Now, I absolutely hate Uncorked Entertainment, and I have never seen a good movie by Uncorked Entertainment until I watched The Retreat. Really, the main purpose in me choosing this movie, it kind of blends in with the setting of Hangman, which you could kind of consider the setting of the movie between somewhere in between those two movies. It's in a forest somewhere in the mountains, and that's what's happening. I mainly went with it for the plot twist because it's all in the main character's head, what's happening, and I kind of thought that that'd be like a cool plot twist to bring on, is that the main character imagines themselves being tracked down by the killer. Once you finally get to the plot twist, it was just all in their head, and they were actually the killer themselves. And everything that had happened, the events up to that point, was all the responsibility of the person that you thought was the victim.
So
Um,
it's all in lay head.
yeah, all in their head.
Yes.
And then for the final ending, I wanted it to be a twist with the actual good people of the movie. The people that are perceived as like crackheads and drug dealers the whole time, they're actually just normal people. They take down the killer and do a Halloween 2018 style ending, and they burn him down in a house in the basement.
Wow. So you ended up picking two movies that you couldn't stand. Me and Jordan are really opposite when it comes to horror movies. it always turns out that if I really enjoy something, he doesn't despise it, but it felt like he just kind of had to sit through it to sit through it. Like Late Night with the Devil. That movie was so good. I mean, it was a 9 out of 10 for me. And well, I guess we're doing the rating scale of, out of 5. So it was a 4 out of 5 for me. And Jordan, he just
For me,
kind
it'd
of,
be like a 3 out of 5.
yeah, he could have just sat there playing, Idol Slayer or whatever on his phone. So,
I mean,
um,
there is actually some stuff in the movie, like I was saying, that I do really like, but for the most part, I really disliked the final sequence for it. It went on to something that just didn't feel like it was supposed to be there. Like it
yeah,
didn't feel like a natural progression, I
yeah.
guess.
Now, on to our randomized movie. So we have a woodpecker set up here, and we're still going to be taking the same skeleton that Jordan made, where we have the opening, build up, meet, and ending. And we're also going to randomize it ourselves. So either I'll take 1 and 3 or 2 and 4 and vice versa for him. Now we're also going to do it how I did my movie, where we kind of just improv and make something up on the spot. If it sucks, it sucks. I think it's going to be pretty enjoyable. So I'm going to go ahead and spin for our first movie. And this is for the opening. We have The Fly,
Ooh.
which I have not seen in a very long time, so I don't even know how the opening is to that. So now on to our build up. Shaun of the Dead.
Wow. It's like only giving us older stuff.
Yeah. This is for our meat.
What is it? What do we get?
The Happening. This movie.
I
This
can't do this.
no, this movie sucked
no.
so bad.
This movie is gonna suck so bad. We have The Fly, we have Shaun of the Dead, and The Happening. 3 movies. One, I know people say a lot of good things about The Fly. I don't care. It's not anything special to me. Shaun of the Dead, terrible. The Happening?
Dude, Shaun of the Dead being terrible?
All zombie movies are terrible.
All right, and on for our ending. We have Get Out.
It's the most horror movie that's on that entire list. All right.
Okay.
So who's taking 1 and 3 and who's taking 2 and 4?
I guess we'll do a coin toss.
Twin costs.
All right, we'll be doing a coin toss to see who gets 1 and 3. Flip a coin. Call it.
Who's heads and who's tail? I'll be heads.
We gotta redo it, Jordan. Go ahead and call it now.
Tails.
Flip a coin.
It's heads this time.
It's heads. I will be taking 1 and 3, which is very fucking sad because The Happening is probably. I hate that movie with a passion. I despise it. It should have never been created.
You can have fun with that.
All right, so what do I have? I have
Fly.
The Fly. Okay, so we'll open it up with this. Late one night, a scientist is up typing on his computer and he's trying to program a software that will turn flies into flowers. I don't know. Basically, what happens is he is able to do it and he wants to automate it. He's able to get it done The first, that night that we open up with, Jesus Christ, this is going to be so bad. And he wakes up the next morning and everything is flowers. Everything is flowers. Everything. His bed, his windows, he's covered in flowers. It's like he's tripping on acid. That's the opening.
The build-up is going to be all of these flowers that have been genetically modified start somehow getting shipped out in massive crates to grocery stores and florists and everywhere. Well, a lot of these flowers start spontaneously combusting in these dry vans, and you start seeing a lot of wrecks. Wrecks are happening everywhere, all over the interstate. It's really sort of all around the same period of time because they're all picking up, all getting out around the same time that these crashes start happening, right? They're opening up these dry vans, and inside is a bunch of dead bodies. You have a highway patrol officer goes to try to see, if any of these are infected. It's just like a particular scene, but before this, there is kind of like a scene that shows the mass global sort of event happening, right? Or I guess nationwide more so. Then you have this officer that goes up and he tries to check on the dead, and he gets bit on the arm. That's the build-up. I don't know much about Shaun of the Dead. I just tried to relate it to zombies.
And you said it was a horrible movie because all zombie films are horrible. On to the meat. On to the randomized meat. How am I gonna do this? The setting is in 2005. Okay. So the meat of the story. We cut to Mark Wahlberg and Andy Samberg and a child, unknown actor, I don't know. And they're having lunch. This scene is actually in The Happening, by the way, and it's pretty insane. Mark Wahlberg and Andy Samberg are having a conversation, and this middle-aged woman that somehow has an iPhone in, 2005, is on Live Leaks, and she sees a video of a zombie tiger unaliving the zookeeper. And Mark Wahlberg goes, "Why would you show me this? What?" And I can't believe I got the meat. It just so happens now that people understand that zombies are real, and so everybody starts unaliving themselves. And it's been known now that not only do we have zombies, but the flowers from the opening of the movie are sending off this fear toxin from Scarecrow, which is for some reason in this movie as well, and it's making people unalive themselves. So not only do we have Scarecrow, not only do we have Andy Samberg, we also have zombies, and we have a toxin that is making people jump off of buildings and wreck their cars. And in another scene in The Happening, the actual movie, somebody unalives themselves with a push mower. That's the meat of the story.
As far as the ending of the story goes, while all of this has been going on, a young person went to his girlfriend's parents' house, and she tried to introduce him to her parents, and they were not the most friendly people. It turns out that they were infected by fear toxin the entire time, and he is trapped in their house and escapes.
So no resolution to any of the problems we have in this random movie, huh?
No, you can't escape the zombie apocalypse and the fear toxin, or you can't solve it. You can only really get out.
Well, okay, dude. Well, Mark Wahlberg ended up, I think, I don't know, it's been a long time since I've seen the movie, but I think Mark Wahlberg, being a high school science teacher, ended up, it's not fear toxin, it's like this biological agent that the flowers and plants actually made on its own because it was tired of humans. I think he solved it. I think. And there's one scene in the movie where Mark Wahlberg decides that he's going to go ahead and try to get back at his wife because she's being mean or whatever as the entire world is ending. And he looks at her and he goes,
In a pharmacy a while ago. There was a really good-looking pharmacist behind the counter. Really good-looking. I went up and I asked her where the cough syrup was. I didn't even have a cough.
and then the other scene, everybody is looking at Mark Wahlberg. Somebody is in danger, and they all look to Mark Wahlberg's character and say, "You have to do something. We have to do something." And then the other characters are like, "No, we can't risk it. We have to leave." And Mark Wahlberg, it cuts to him going,
Just let me think.
They're dying!
I need a second. They released it? We're not near the road.
We can't just stand here as uninvolved
I need a
observers!
second, okay? Just give me a second.
We're not gonna be one of those assholes on the news who watches a crime happen and not do something. We're not assholes.
Just a second.
There were children in that group. Elliot, please tell us what to do.
I need a second, okay? Why can't anybody give me a goddamn second?
But yeah, so that's the end of our randomized movie that has probably been done on YouTube so many different times, but we just have not seen the content.
I'm gonna be honest. I've never completed any of those 4 movies, and 2 out of 3 of them I've never even seen.
Well, that tells you how much effort we are putting into this content we're bringing you. And this is yet another episode in the Book of Dread.
Whoa.